Thanks.
So this is in our effort to think through the problem, we struck with the kind of the whole idea of pornography is you don't know how to define it, but you know it when you see it. That whole thing, the Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart misquote in the 1960s. Professionalism is a little bit like that, a little bit like Quicksilver. We all know when a student hasn't kind of done it, or when each other we haven't done it, we haven't been professional. But it's hard to really kind of define it. So kind of coming up with the language was important. That's where we started. The objectives, of the research is to define it by using, or identify it by using this device, by using this platform. You can understand professionalism a little bit better as well, and identify it, and then give better feedback. So we'll just kind of walk through the app. The app is a web-based application. So you have to be in some sort of, you have to be in Wi-Fi range to use it. It doesn't live in your phone like some of your apps do, and it does not capture the data in your phone. So you're not going to be walking around with some sort of restricted information about a student on your cell phone that could potentially be lost. You're merely accessing this database via your phone, and it looks like an app to you. It feels like an app. So we're hoping that the benefit here is that we'll be able to give feedback in a more timely manner that's more related to the event than what we currently do for students, which is not atypically 4 or 5 weeks after they've left our rotation and we're being nagged to death to fill out some sort of form. And at that point, you kind of maybe don't even remember the student. You're looking at the student pictures. You're like, which student was that? And I think we have a massive data decay when we do it that way, and hoping that this will allow you to reach for your app the same day or maybe that same afternoon and say, well, this student did a great thing or the student did a bad thing, and be able to capture it and start that dialogue. So the grant information focuses on how we are at accepting the technology and what is the influence of the technology on our assessment of professionalism in this environment. Again, it requires kind of this web access. There's no downloading. It's formatted such that it'll work on any of these sort of formats, or iPads or iPhones. All of it will work. There is a login requirement, and we'll get you more information on that after today's session. The purpose of it really is to prompt the discussion with the student. So it's not just we go off to our office and we type in they did this great thing or did this bad thing, and then never discuss it with the student, but it's really to capture it and then prompt the discussion with the student. The pilot study, which we're all participating in here, is really meant to take place over about a 13 to 18 week period. At the end of it, we'll sit back down and try to have you guys complete a similar survey to what you did, and we'll pick out a few of you to have like a one-on-one interview with. It'll be just 5 or 6 of you at that point. We're trying to see what the impact was on what we just walked through. You will be in the role of a reporter, basically, in this system. So you'll be able to submit evaluations on your students, but you won't be able to see evaluations that others have submitted. And we want you to know that for some degree of comfort too, so that you're not biased by what maybe your partner thought about that student. So we're trying to really sort of isolate that. You will be able to see other evaluations you've made historically on that student and on other students, which we think will help you when 4 or 5 weeks later you're evaluating that student. You would have a track record of the things that you captured. The app looks like this, basically. That first image, when you first type in PROMOBES.com, you'll see this. If you tap that screen, then you'll have this image pop up. You will be basically able to either search by student year, so if it's an M3 student or an M4 student, you'll be able to search by year, or if you know the student's name, you'll type that in there, and you'll see their image. There'll be a class picture there, and by clicking on anywhere in this big box here, you'll be able to then input your observation. You could also type in part of their name and seek that way. And the observations were stratified into these sort of 3 levels for great things, positive reviews. We've gone with the sort of the metaphor for the kid that gets the gold star. At UCF, the Pegasus is sort of the emblem. If you're at Miami, that might be an ibis or something, I don't know. But there will be some sort of gold star equivalent. And then following the sporting analogy, there's yellow cards and red cards. This is more to signal to force you to kind of think about, was it a severe thing or a not that severe, and also to inform the upstream parties who will be getting notification here. In your particular case, Heather will be getting notifications if you're sending a red card, for example, she would immediately get an email that says, hey, Johnny Smith on the ER rotation just got a red card for yelling at a nurse. So that would require some sort of immediate reaction. So this helps you stratify that, and then once you've chosen which card or whatever you're going to give the student, you will see a menu pop up. The menu will be these 6 items that are in the boxes. Reliability and responsibility is the top one. Self-improvement and adaptability. Relationships with students, faculty, staff, and patients. Upholding medical student principles. Relationships with members of the healthcare team. And commitment to scholarship and advancing the field. Those are the big items. Once you've identified that, if you just click that single box, you'll have this greater definition pop out. So, for example, with upholding med student principles, honesty is one of those. Contributions to the learning environment, respect for diversity. So whether you picked a gold star or a red card, the attributes are the same, and you will be able to sort of comment on as many of these as you think you just observed. It may be 1 item or it may be 3. And you click those. When you're happy with those decisions, you continue. And once you've done that, put in a little text descriptor of what you just saw. Janet did a great job today on rounds. She went way out of her way to bring in documents on this rare case that we had presented overnight. This was amazing. She helped the team learn something that nobody had thought about before. And it doesn't have to be long. It's just enough to sort of capture the moment and continue from there. You'll have the opportunity to sort of review that. So the review is, you gave this particular student a yellow card for reliability and responsibility, and there's some comment here. And once you do that, you submit it, and in effect, it's sort of off of your hands and becomes an email that will then help us triangulate the discussion. Again, Heather would be sort of informed. She may call you as a faculty member and say, they did what? And talk about it, and then you would bring the student in. Or you might talk about it and say, yeah, that's amazing. We're giving them a gold star, and we're going to let them know. So some discussion would occur. Hopefully the student would get some feedback very close to the event, and that's how the system effectively works. That's in a nugget. That's what happens. So the events are captured. You're hoping that it's going to prompt feedback. And then when you can go back into the system as a faculty member and then see sort of the student's history. You'd be able to see that they had yellow cards or gold cards in the past. We might find students who've been doing fine, and all of a sudden they've got a spike in red cards. That may alert us that there's something going on. Maybe there's a problem at home. Maybe that's a student that's drinking. Maybe there's some issue there that we're not thinking about, and this allows us to capture it before it becomes a bigger problem. The graphical part of it is actually kind of cool, and you'll be able to sort of demonstrate to yourself these data in different forms. You can make bar graphs from it. You can make those kind of spider graphs where each of the axes kind of come out in a radial form. You'll be seeing a lot of those from the ACGME, by the way, for residencies. So those are sort of starting to creep into other areas of assessment. But that's sort of how the app works. Not particularly complicated. There's only 3 or 4 steps. You pick the student, you pick the card, you pick the attributes, you write a comment or 2, and then kind of submit it along. And then hopefully what comes after that, the ability to talk to the student about it, and then let's see if that helps over time.